This is a true story. It happened right here in my town. One night, 17 kids woke up, got out of bed, walked into the dark, and they never came back.
I'm the director of Barbarian.
A lot of people die in a lot of weird ways. You're not going to find it in the news because the police covered everything all up.
On August 8th.
This is where the story really starts.
Weapons. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Content warning for discussions of extreme child abuse and white nationalism. Someplace underneath.
So I remember that free will exists, and tomorrow...
And Free Willy, the movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and speaking of Free Willy, I think I want to go take the train down to San Diego and go paddleboarding.
Oh, I think that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and then make it like a cute little day trip. I go on Groupon. Tickets are like $23 for a paddleboard. Never done it. Who cares? But I was looking on like how to do it, and this guy was like launching into God stuff.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
It really is.
It's paddleboarding. I just want to go paddleboard and read a book on the beach. And he's like, God, you know, when you can like just drift and that's easy to do. And then you find yourself away from God. And I was like, yeah, I kind of agree, I guess. But
wait, God's not in the ocean?
He said something like, you got to work to be around God. You got to kind of like go to the island.
Come on.
I don't know.
Do we really need to do that in paddleboarding?
I don't know. It was so weird. I was like, I just want to know what I'm doing first, like an instructional video and not get like a God lesson.
Yeah, you don't need to be evangelized. I just feel like that is really unnecessary. And especially as people are having more conversations about their religious trauma and maybe they don't want to talk about God with some guy named, Kyle with like a shoulder length hair and
yes.
farmer's tan. I don't know. I think that would immediately turn me off, but I don't think all paddleboarders would do that.
No, it's just so weird that was like the first video that popped up. And like how much...
Okay, this wasn't a who talked to you. I thought this was a person you were making an appointment with.
No, this was just like a guy on Instagram.
Okay, great.
It's just so weird that like every little thing you click on, baking bread, paddleboarding, reading a book, it like... There's a lot of like religion and there's a lot of people saying like the world doesn't want you to be godly. And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of everywhere I look.
Yeah. Well, I think it's in, hang on.
They were playing Christian music at the Taco Bell.
Yeah. I think that's probably in a reaction to people kind of abandoning the church for reasons that are fair. A lot of abuse, a lot of cover-ups of sexual abuse, a lot of
misuse of power,
money laundering.
Yeah.
Speaking of, welcome to Someplace Underneath. I'm Natalie Jean.
I'm Amber Nelson.
And so I think that there is the spring on the other side of that is being like, no, that's not happening, and kind of pushing in that way. But we have the push and pull for a reason. Right. One of the people we're going to be talking to, who is a secular spiritualist, has some really fascinating takes on spirituality and why people may act the way they do sometimes. Also ex-Mormon woman.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to speak with her on the show.
It's weird that like they think the backlog of if you're not spiritual, well then you're like, of course you're looking at porn for 9 hours a day and just jerking off and like eating unhealthy. And I'm like, there's no middle ground here?
Well, it's kind of contradictory because one of those does not negate the other. And in fact, a lot of times they align because if you're not able to have an inner core that's like your own decision making, if you have to rely on this exterior thing to tell you what's right and wrong all the time, a lot of times you don't do right things because you go, well, like, that thing says you'd sin, and then you say you're sorry, which is very much the case in the LDS Church, as we've seen throughout this season, which we're getting close to the end too. I can't believe it.
Wow.
But also I can, because we're almost at 40 episodes.
And then we'll solve all the problems.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as soon as the 40th episode is done, it'll all be fixed. And you're welcome, everyone. I think that sometimes spiritualism, it's not spiritualism as much as religion. I think sometimes religion and child abuse kind of go hand in hand, because it kind of encourages in a lot of different religions, because they're all patriarchal in nature, very afraid of things, very intent on control, and all of those things go along with child abuse. And actually, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I did want to mention this towards the top of the episode. We are going to be returning into the discussion of modern day white nationalists inside of the LDS Church.
Oh, great. Yes.
I know you were excited. I know you were like the morning in your prayer. You're like, please let us be talking. You got on a paddleboard. You went out into the sea and you said, God, please, can we talk about white nationalists more?
Please.
Yeah. So your prayers have been answered.
Yes. Well, I told you this like a couple years ago before the election. I went to one of these meetings just because out of curiosity.
Sometimes you do these, what would you call them? Anthropological.
Yes. I just want to look and see.
I get scared for you, but you do it.
Yes. But it was really like, to be honest, it was a bunch of lonely men.
Of course.
That's it. They just wanted to find a girlfriend. There were no women there. It was like me and two other girls. Very scary. And the whole discussion was around like how to find a wife. And I'm like, oh, you guys, if you got your dick sucked, maybe you stop being a problem.
It's you would think, but something we're going to address today makes me question if it's not really just a personality issue in general, because I've actually been having this debate with people who have been like noting that guys who've never been married and stuff, it's like, oh, well, it's weird. They've been a bachelor their whole lives and da-da-da. And then that means they're creeps and all this stuff. And I really fervently disagree with that. I think you can be an entire person, whether or not you ever get married, including being a guy. And I don't think we should normalize making a woman fix a dangerous guy. And I think that's what a lot of those conversations end up being. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
No, yeah, you're right.
But even like people who I would agree with on most things kind of go like, yeah, it's weird. All of his friends got married and so he got weird. And it's like, no, that's not because he didn't have a girlfriend or a woman. It's because he has to deal with some things going on because, well, we'll talk about in some of these groups these white nationalist groups, a lot of them do have wives who they have children and they're still furious and they're still out trying to hurt people all the time online and in person. They have the things. The church gave them the wife that was promised and all of the doctrine, and they have it, and they're still angry because they're not dealing with what's underneath all of that.
Because their whole life, everything is like a third party. God will fix it. Church will fix it. As opposed to like, what do I need to fix?
Yeah, totally. I think that's true. And so I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there. I also want to defend guys who decided to not get married and you can be totally normal.
Oh, of course.
Like you can be a totally chill, cool, normal guy, even a straight guy, and not want to get married. And that's totally okay. And it doesn't mean anything if your friends get so that's basically what I'm saying. I don't want to demonize those guys because some of them are great. And I also don't want the single guy being like, well, if only he had gotten married. It's like, that's not it.
Yeah, you're right. You're very wise, Natalie.
I'm not wise. I just talk all the time. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention, we criticized Utah's legislation quite a bit in the previous episodes. And I think it's only fair I mention a bill that has passed recently that I personally think is a good move in Utah. It's State Bill 24, SB 24. It passed earlier this year in direct response to Ruby Frankie's crimes against her children, including amendments to their already on the books child abuse rules. They have obviously laws in place for like slapping your kid in the face, like horrible things like that.
Yeah.
But we are now understanding that child abuse, and this goes hand in hand with what we talked about with the troubled teen industry, is not always as simple as just like, a closed fist kind of thing that we put in our minds what child abuse is, right? So they have added something that I think more states are going to embrace, which is something called child torture. And I'm sorry, that's very horrible to say, but as you'll recall, that's essentially what was happening to Ruby Franke's children. They were literally being tortured. And let's break down a little bit what that means. But here's some of the changes that were made to the child abuse laws that I think are positive.
The offense of child torture and statutes that reference child abuse or aggravated child abuse include statutes concerning background check, murder and aggravated murder, child abuse, homicide, bigamy, jail release agreements and orders, and adoption, parent time, and custody statutes. Adds the offense of child torture to the definition of violent felony, includes the offense of child torture as a registrable offense on the Sex, Kidnap, and Child Abuse Offender Registry.
That's big, long legalese to say they're including in the already established laws in Utah about child abuse this new portion called child torture, and it makes it a higher level offense, and it can be more defined now because this is something that is being discussed more openly, especially in the last decade, maybe, a form of abuse that is often called intrafamilial child torture. I know that word is really intense, and you're probably thinking of, like, if you're a horror person, you're like, oh, like hostile. It's like, no, that's not exactly it, but sometimes it's not much better, but also it's different. So most established schools of thought on intrafamilial child torture are trying to work to make a more legally refined definition of it. But in general, it refers to prolonged and harmful behaviors that affect children in ways that differ than the more, but not better, traditional abuse of like hitting or just like immediate violence.
Right. So like withholding food or even just like emotional abandonment or just saying like, you're worthless, you're worthless.
Yes, that is exactly what they're talking about. And this is something that they're trying to get more clearly defined into laws. So intrafamilial child torture, which is also called ITC, which is easier to say, is generally accepted as actions such as prolonged isolation, food restriction, binding, forced stress positions, asphyxiation, fractures, being locked in a room, beatings justified by religious dogma, restricting access to the toilet, sexual abuse, psychological torture like sensory deprivation, shunning, disowning, or submerging in water, having water thrown on them, threat of honor killing, threat of murdering of other family members. This sort of kind of goes on and on. But does that kind of make sense of like what that is in regards to?
This is so scary.
It's horrible, but it's actually not very uncommon, especially in really conservative religious homes. Not exclusive, for sure, but there are people who kind of justify it for religious reasons. So these are the more nebulous acts that are not always visible with scars and bruises, though sometimes they are. After Ruby Franke was discovered to have been participating in multiple of these acts. So if you went through a checklist of the things I just listed, Ruby Franke would check off quite a few of them. The state of the children was so severe that it called for government action. And me being cynical, I feel like this happened because of the bad press that Ruby Franke brought the church.
Oh, right. Like if it didn't get any press or any like hullabaloo about it, nothing would have happened.
Because this is not the first case like this that any state has ever seen. But the Ruby Franke, I think, bringing so much attention to it made them finally act to change it a little bit. Because I think it made the church look bad. But whatever. I mean, I'm glad they changed it for whatever reason.
This reminds me of like when I was going to church back in the day, there was a bully in church, but he was still, praise the Lord, but he was just a little like, people were kind of scared of him. And his dad would just like throw him downstairs all the time.
And he was a jerk? That's so weird. Wait a second. I need to go get into my science lab and figure out why those things correlate with one another.
Right. His dad just like would throw him down, like beat him up,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
How do you think he's doing today?
Probably dead. Or maybe with kids.
Probably.
Maybe with kids. And he's just like, state can't tell me what I can do to my kids. My dad beating me up and I'll do it's a cycle and it's hard to break.
I hope that he had a actual come to Jesus moment and was like, wait a second, this is not good?
No, I remember sitting on the bus and he was behind me, and instead of asking me to move my chair up, he just started kicking the chair. And I remember thinking like, but I'm a girl. Why are you like hitting me?
Yeah, and I want to say again, I grew up in a very secular world, and I also had boy violence against me. So I'm not saying it's only religious communities that do that. Yeah, I had guys really physically assault my friend and I multiple times in high school. It was really not addressed by people in the school, and it was not something that they kind of like blamed it on us. Like, what did you think was going to happen when you dressed like that?
Oh my God.
Not even like sexily. We just dressed weird. We were like punk kids. And they're like, well, don't look like that. And they won't throw you down and shit. Throw rocks at your fucking head. And she's like, okay, got it. Thank you. Thanks for the help.
And that's why you're a fighter.
I guess so. Something.
Hello, I'm Dak Shepard.
And I'm Monica Padman.
And we love talking to people. Every Monday and Wednesday, we sit down with actors, authors, scientists, really anyone interesting, and have real, honest conversations about life, success, failure, and everything in between. We get vulnerable, we get nerdy, and yes, I occasionally overshare.
Me too. And I would say more than occasionally.
Yeah, but some of our favorite stories actually come from you, our listeners. That's why we created Armchair Anonymous.
Yes, every Friday on Armchair Anonymous, we get to hear your funniest, weirdest, most jaw-dropping confessions. And boy, have you delivered.
Yeah, from disastrous dates to family secrets to the time you accidentally joined a cult or evacuated without authorization.
We really have heard it all.
Yes, we have, and we love it. So come pull up a chair. Listen to Armchair Expert wherever you get your podcasts.
Eddie Murphy and Pete Davidson's worst day on the job is your best night in. The Pickup brings the action, hilarious laughs, and it's streaming now on Prime Video. Eddie Murphy and Pete Davidson star as Russell and Travis, two armored truck drivers thrown into absolute madness after what was supposed to be a routine cash run. They're ambushed by a gang of criminals led by Zoe, played flawlessly by Keke Palmer. And from there, it's nothing but twists, trouble, and top-tier chemistry. Directed by Tim Story, The Pickup serves action, laughs, and the kind of mess you'll want to rewind. It's fast-paced, hilarious, and a total thrill ride from start to finish. Expect wild detours, explosive setups, and the kind of chaos you can't look away from. If you're into unpredictable pairings and big summer energy, this is your movie. Watch The Pickup now, only on Prime Video.
Anyway, the move is good on the part of the Utah government, and it's already actually been implemented in two different two different cases were charged with child torture in Utah since this has been put into place as we are recording this. I wish that there weren't adults doing this to kids to have those charges, but I'm glad that they are being implemented because their punishments will be stronger. However, I also can't help but point out that this isn't a preventative measure, but a punishment in the aftermath, which is a very traditional way of looking at abuse, which is like, well, we'll punish you afterwards, but we're not going to figure out how to prevent any of this from happening. Because as we were talking about with the other things they've changed, they're trying to make it harder for other people to interfere if you take your kid out of school. So they'll punish you for after you've tortured your children. But they're not going to they don't want to infringe on your rights if you're going to the kid gets reported for abuse in school and then you pull them out of school. That's fine.
God, and that could take years because there's no eyes on them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one step forward, two steps back, but I'll take it. And also it's probably really important to point out that these things that they're describing as child torture were being used in all of those reform schools and those camps, those wilderness camps that the state advocated for 5 decades. So it's like all of those scare 'em straight camps in Utah were using all of these implements, and they were like, that's fine, but I guess not anymore. So, but they kind of are, but they're kind of not.
It's just money because they took money from each other.
Yeah. So it definitely, for sure, there was money motivating a lot of the choices, I think. Unfortunately, ICT is not uncommon. It's not limited to high control religious groups, but it is bordering on rampant in those circles. You want to look no further than the Fundy favorite childcare book, To Train Up a Child. I'm sure some LDS people will read that, but that book is disgusting, and it advocates for something called blanket training, which is used in all of those circles and involves hitting. Actually, one of Ruby Frankie's sisters made a vlog about how she blanket trains. So yes, she does. Some of them do use it.
So they put the baby on the blanket, and then the toys, their favorite toys, just out of reach of the blanket. And if they reach the toys, they go bam on the baby, and they pull the hair of the baby. I cannot imagine hitting a baby like that. Cannot imagine that. And then they grow
then
up.
I guess you're okay.
Because this person grows up, and that's why they don't want to leave the church. That's why they don't question anything. That's why they don't look inwards. It's all like, if I question or reach, I'm going to be met with physical violence.
Yes. And some people argue, who are trying to defend this action, they say, well, we don't actually use violence. We just psychologically torture them by confusing them, by presenting them with a toy that they wanted and then being like, no. And then they're like, what? It's worse than something you would do to try to train a dog.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that to a dog.
No, I would never do that. And that's not how you train a dog. You train them through positive reinforcement. So to train up a child is something that openly advocates for child torture, which is to confuse them to the point psychologically that they're afraid of you and so that they submit. It's about submission more than anything. It's like psychological torture.
Why is everything about submission? This is crazy.
I guess just because it makes them feel like big, strong boys as parents. I don't know. And it's women too, it's for sure.
Yeah.
So this is something that is so at odds with a lot of things the church supports, but the PR of them ignoring Ruby Frankie, I guess, was too great. Because I bet a lot of members still would be furious, like, if they weren't trying to take measures. Because there's plenty of people in the church who are not doing this to their children.
Oh, yeah.
So because of the nebulous nature of child torture on the legal books, it has long been dismissed as simply parenting styles or strict households, or again, try not to pick on religious households, but extremely normalized and high-control religious circles of all denominations, including outside of Christianity. It's perhaps not totally unrelated to the circles of white nationalism in and out of the LDS church, that they are also rife with violence, including violence against children, their own children. But if you're obsessed with the idea of purity, this non-existent thing, the thing that does not exist, the thing the white nationalists are obsessed with, there's a lot of anger tied to it. It's so strange.
Yeah.
It's this purity thing is like, it really makes me feel like untreated mental illness so much of the time. Whenever, you have like obsessions over things being clean or pure and like all of, I'm not giving them that out. A lot of them are just assholes who are angry, but this idea of everything being perfect and pure and like, I'm good. Everything's good. Okay. Everything. It's almost like a little bit OCD, and I have traits that are similar to that. Not like this, but there's something there that like makes me think of that. And a lot of anger comes from those kind of mental states.
Right. Because life isn't pure.
It's impossible to make something pure.
Literally impossible. So you're striving for imperfection, and that's just going to make you crazy.
It will. And also, obviously, there's huge like delusional ideas about it's kind of connected to mediocrity, like white guy mediocrity, because if they convince themselves that they are like this master race, they don't need to try, they don't need to be smart, they don't need to be fun or funny or clever. They just like are.
They just need to fall in line and obey the rules.
And they're the right ones. They're the perfect ones. And then they don't have to really try at anything.
Yeah, because there's no striving. There's no like, I want that, I'm going to go for it, because it was beaten out of you.
It's the irony of them being pissed about DI and like, oh, these people are just being given these jobs. And it's like, no, you're being given a job.
Yeah.
They actually have to work 10 times harder than you. And you're mad that they're even getting an opportunity because you want to flood everything with your mediocrity and just think that you're smart for no reason. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but I've been having to read about these guys for days and days now, and I'm so sick of hearing about them. I'm sick of these dudes. I hate that they get oxygen, but we have to talk about it. So last week we had just begun our look into the very real and modern segments of the saints that believe with their whole entire chest in white supremacy, which makes sense in the Latter-day Saints. The church is utterly based in that notion. It is I know I keep saying this, but I just don't understand how people can like have like the cognitive dissonance of this. The doctrine is saying white people are the right race.
Right. And if you believe hard enough, your skin will turn lighter.
Yes.
And I think it comes from Cain and Abel when the guy was given the mark when he murdered his brother, and the mark was dark skin.
Well, there's that for sure. But Joseph Smith really like, made it his. he took that and he's like, yes. Because we have the Lamanites and the Nephites, I think. Oh. We keep bringing this up, but I feel like we have to keep reiterating whether or not you've ever been in this church. That is the basis of the Book of Mormon. Yeah. It is the thing that the whole book is supposed to be based on that's different from the Bible, is that there were white people in America that disappeared, and then Jesus came and was like, no, these bad ones are here and we don't like it. So that's the church.
Right. That
I'm going like,
and multiple wives because he was caught with that underage girl.
Yeah, there's many different things that end up. And we've had this discussion. I was in Salt Lake City for the first time just a week before we recorded this.
Tell me about it.
And I know we should have started that at the top, but
fuck this paddleboarding nonsense. What's up with Salt Lake City?
We'll do some video essay stuff about it too, for sure, on the side. People have been asking, we are going to have more video content on our new YouTube. Right now, we just have the one interview, but there will be so much more coming up if you want to try to subscribe over to those venues and watch video of us. But it's at Someplace Underneath on YouTube. Sorry. Anyway, so you're really like looking at the face of the Brigham Young version of the LDS Church and like seeing all of it in person. And really, I was discussing that I don't think this church would even be known if Joseph Smith had not died, because so much of this was Brigham kind of like making it this other thing, and they got to have this martyrdom in Joseph Smith. But I think if he would have just lived out his normal life and not been murdered, I don't think it just would have faded into another one of those groups that just went away.
It's another cult. And like, don't forget, early American Christians hated Joseph Smith, tarred and feathered his ass, threw him out a window. They didn't like him.
No. And, they were probably also super weird because like, they're all crazy. But I think that we wouldn't even be talking about this if he hadn't been killed. Anyway, okay. So, and by far also Joseph Smith was not the first guy to say like,
I gotta have a lot of wives.
Or white people are the best. Yay. Yay, we're great.
Right. Yeah, many other people before and after him.
Yeah. So the LDS Church is squarely enmeshed in the concept of manifest destiny, which is inherently racist, even as the LDS Church would have you believe that they were evading manifest destiny. They were actually participating in it, just using a different form of God to justify their violent actions, because manifest destiny, was the reason that they justified being able to come sweep through and do the genocides and stuff to develop America, right?
And it's that classic painting of like, it's a woman in white and she's like floating above, and then there's a bunch of like white soldiers coming through. Yeah,
it's cool. It's just the same as what they're doing, but it's just like a little different, a little wacky. So before we get into the Desnats, which we mentioned briefly last episode, I want to talk about a pretty well-known FBI raid from the year of 2022, right back in the splendor of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which we have already talked about because it is a place where there's a lot of connections to white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and the Klan. That day in June of 2022, the boys had gathered up their Bluetooths, their finest cargo pants, and coordinated their beige bravery face masks, pressed against one another in a non-air-conditioned U-Haul, breaths mingling as their hearts beat in unison, to go perform a carefully choreographed flash mob at an Idaho Pride event, to really show them who's boss.
I remember this, and I remember being on X, Twitter, whatever, and then people of this ilk, they were saying like, oh, that's the Fed, that's not real.
Oh yeah, as soon as like they're
caught,
yeah, or anything like embarrassing happens,
it's like, that's the Fed. I was like, no, own up to it at least.
Yeah.
Can you be man enough to own up to that? Because I thought you were the superior race.
I know, for sure, and they can't anyway because their identities were ultimately revealed, and they're very obviously openly not federal agents. Like, they're not. We'll talk about that. But I'm making fun of them, but they were there to threaten and terrorize people out just trying to enjoy their day at a fun outdoor activity. The performance art dance troupe that I'm referring to is known as Patriot Front. It is a white nationalist kind of Nazi-adjacent group. It was founded by a little turd named Thomas Ryan Rousseau in 2017. And Patriot Front was a siren call to angry, entitled little boys across the internet to be willy strong. And Thomas was not an LDS member. He was born in Grapevine, Texas, which is near Dallas. I'm actually going there next year randomly. And not for Patriot Front reasons.
You're going to join?
I was going to try.
You can get in that Utah.
I'm a girl. Let me in there. Can a girl do it?
Yeah, I wonder if a girl can join. Probably not.
I don't think so.
You probably get raped in the U-Haul.
Yeah. They hate women. You know, I don't think I could go, unfortunately. It's actually for Faye business. I'm going there.
Okay.
Very different. So,
God, do you think Patriot Front would storm the Faye, like, Comic-Con? Like the romantic, like the balls?
I guess it's utterly possible because they're very queer affirming a lot of the time. So maybe I think they would just be mad. They'd be like, I wish I could do that.
Right. I wish I could put on a pretty dress and dance around.
That's what they're thinking, and they never admit it. Hopefully they won't be either. That would be crazy. My worlds would truly be colliding. So yeah, he was born in this area, and much like sentient pimples Stephen Miller, Thomas seems to have been a dedicated edgelord as far back as high school, because he was actually only around 19 when he started his super masculine club, Patriot Front.
What? 19?
Yeah, a lot of them are started by really young men because it is technically very stupid. So it kind of needs a child's like immaturity to even consider most of the time. It's almost scary when they're like 40, which we're going to talk about that too.
So he's probably like 26 around now?
He is, yeah, somewhere in there. He's in his 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't math, but somewhere in there. Yeah. You're probably right. That sounds about right.
I just did a little thing on my hands.
So that's so cute. I love when girls can't do math. It's like adorable.
I can't drive. I can't do math.
Ooh, that's sexy.
I actually can't, and I can't do directions.
You can. You just choose not to.
You're right, and I can't make a steak.
You can't make a steak?
No. These are things. I was thinking about this the other day.
There's no way. You are such a good cook.
I'm a great cook, but making a steak, bad at it.
Really?
Directions, you tell me to walk on the northeast side of the street, I'm just going to lay down.
Girl, who in this day and age with a phone knows what the northeast quadrant of this following the star is? I feel like we all should know that way more. Like we should do like treasure hunts where we can't use our phone.
We should be Magellan maxing.
Magellan maxing. Let's do it. It would be good, I think, for our brains to be able to do that, because I don't even know sometimes the names of the streets around my house, like literally, because my phone just tells me where to go. It's very sad.
Possibility means you have a chance.
Passion opens the door to all possibilities.
When I feel like anything's possible, I feel kind of giddy.
I want to be an astronaut, an artist, an actress.
To visit another country.
All I need is a backpack and a pair of shoes, and I'll find a way.
That I'm able to do anything I set my mind to.
I've never felt like more things are possible than right now.
In the right shoes, anything's possible.
DSW, countless shoes at brag-worthy prices. Imagine the possibilities.
Anyway, this dumbass kid, Thomas Ryan, so I'm calling him a kid not because I'm trying to infantilize him, but because he is a bitch. He's a little taint. He's a little taint. I don't even want to call him a bitch. Bitches are female dogs, and those rule.
You're right. And again, we need to be looking more words that aren't derogatory towards the female.
Right.
Because you can call someone a bitch and a cunt.
Yeah.
And that stings a little bit, but it's only because you're equating it to a woman.
But now we're retaking those back. Being cunty's fun.
Yeah.
Being a bitch ass boss bitch is cool. Taking it back. And I still call people a bitch and an insult. You can't always do it, but. Right. So yeah, he didn't come from an LDS background, but we don't know a ton about him other than he did live at his parents' house. Shockingly, his parents don't seem to want to be associated with him publicly. It's so weird. So Patriot Front was a branch off from the group Vanguard America, another big, strong boys club that is a branch of the Nationalist Front, which was an Uber group formed by the National Socialist Movement and the Traditionalist Worker Party, which is all just kind of the same soup of like white nationalist Nazi guys who are mad.
Right. I'm looking at a picture of this Thomas Ryan Rousseau, and he's in a lot of hats. It's a lot of like...
He's in cosplay.
Yeah. It's like he's very queer-coded.
Yeah, except that he can't handle that for whatever reason.
He can't handle it. He can't go inside and look inside himself and come up to his own conclusions. Everything has to be prepared and given to him, and he's angry about that.
I guess so, yeah. It's so hard to really pull apart why this is so important. And, you know, the first thing is like, oh, he's closeted. And I'm like, I don't want to then say that about every harmful guy.
No, and also that's an insult to gay people. But this man has like, he's silly.
He does seem silly, yes.
There's something silly about him, and he's angry at that silliness.
Yeah, there's something, yes. He's not you look at him and you're not like, wow, what a strong guy. He like looks goofy.
He looks good, yeah.
Yeah, and he can't handle it, I guess. So it's important to me also to emphasize here that all of these groups I just named, they weren't all formed in the 2010s. Some of them kind of go back as far as like the 70s. But a lot of them that I just mentioned were either developed heavily, forged, or empowered drastically as soon as Fuckface rode down the escalator in 2015. They, along with this administration that's currently in as we record, are tied intrinsically together no matter how much people want to live in denial of that. Anyway, all of these groups contain a multitude of shades of flat white nonsense, and none of these have immediate roots in the LDS Church, at least what I could find. But as mentioned last week, these groups could see that Mormons were ripe for the picking. Thomas Rousseau, I keep calling him Thomas Wiseau in my notes, and now I'm just making a silly joke about it. That young entrepreneur really seemed to hone in on the LDS market to see the willingness that might be there to join his little group, his little dance troupe. So this guy and his cohorts saw the potential of the Jello Belt. This is a little clip from BYU's paper, which is called The Daily Universe, from November of 2019.
White supremacy propaganda found on BYU campus. University police have been notified and are currently looking into the issue. BYU's tweet said, "The stickers and posters are not authorized, are not in accordance with the university policy, and will be removed if placed on campus." Oh, is this the "it's okay to be white"? Is that
some
what
of
that
it, but yeah, there is that campaign, I guess we'll call it. But a lot of this is specifically Patriot Front propaganda. So some of it is it's okay to be white shit.
It's so interesting that they know what to say that makes people mad, because then they're like, oh, but you can't say it's okay to be black. What about it's okay to be white? But like, it's inherently what you're doing is very hateful.
Yeah. It's because the idea of them being the victims is probably really appealing to them. But when your very recent history has relied on slave labor, you can't take that. There's no balance there. It is inherently that it's okay to be white. We control everything in the country.
Right. And also, they're kind of like pushing you in a corner to like defend yourself and then monologue and then get angry at you and be like, yeah, see, the left can't meme. But like, you guys did this.
Well, yeah, it's almost like they're lonely and they want to engage with people and under any way possible.
They just have no friends, so they have to like make everybody be their friend.
Kinda, except
just like argue, because they think of like arguing and anger as like we're having a connection, and it's like, no, I hate this right now.
Yeah, there's definitely that element. Whatever that psychological like phenomena is, for sure that's happening.
God, imagine living in that headspace of just like, how do I piss everybody off at all the moments?
It's very exhausting to even cover, just doing the research for this episode it makes me tired, truly, because it must be miserable. Just every second of your waking life.
Go outside.
The article goes on to say, they give the standard PR response that BYU said, we did not, authorize this. We do not stand for racist behavior, the blah, blah, blah. Just like standard, sure, that's great. it also quotes the official statement of the LDS Church about the matter.
White supremacist attitudes are morally wrong and sinful, and we condemn them. Church members who promote or pursue a white culture or white supremacy agenda are not in harmony with the teachings of the church.
To which I say, DeFerk, it doesn't live in harmony with the teachings of the church.
Yeah, that's like your whole MO. They're just saying that stuff, so then people, they're like, they join.
Because they think culturally that's what they're supposed to say. It's just so detached from what their church's foundation is, and I don't understand how. Whatever, they have to detach from it, I guess. But just the fact that it's not in harmony with the teaching of the church is crazy to say. So I would like to note that this article, and I'm going to be mentioning these statistics, they reference the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League for Statistics, and I do not agree with the CEO's stance from the ADL that anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism. It's a ridiculous concept. I actually think it's the utter opposite, and it's harmful to Jewish people to conflate the two. But the ADL has documented the rising levels of white nationalist propaganda on college campuses, and you can say broken clock is right, blah, blah, blah. So this is from their reports.
During the 2018 to 2019 school year, from September 1st, 2018 to May 31st, 2019, ADL documented 313 cases of white supremacist propaganda on campus, a 7% increase from the 292 recorded during the 2017-2018 academic year, according to a report released by the Anti-Defamation League in June.
So this was all ramping up from around 2015 up until COVID. So those 5 years, there was more and more of this being emboldened and being kind of pushed into young people's algorithms, into their social media, and physically flyering, which sounds so weird to say in this time period, but the SPLC, the Southern Poverty League Center, has actually a very handy interactive map of the numbers of documented flyering of hate groups in the United States. And the reason that flyering is so important in this modern era is that that was what was really cool about growing up in the punk scene, was like, it's felt really secretive because you got your information from zines and like word of mouth whisper networks. But in the punk scene, it was like about fighting this kind of stuff and like about bands and about like cool underground things. But because these groups typically don't want to, a lot of platforms don't want to have them on, they have to use this sort of whisper network, which is literally to like flyer college campuses with kind of sometimes misleading kind of propaganda stuff to get them to join, because they can't just like put an ad out on Google, if that makes sense.
Because Google would be like, And also this is kind of like more insidious, because if I get handed a flyer, I feel like I'm like in the know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the network. I'm more connected now.
That's exactly what was fun about the other side of it, you know, just being like, oh, this like shitty, you know, circulation, it's all black and white printed. It's like, oh, this is where I can find the cool bands and all that.
Yeah.
They're just doing it for evil.
Damn. I remember my brother was walking around Southern California years ago, and he saw a flyer for MAPS. It was like minor attracted children. And
From
like,
where?
This is like a made up, and it's a thing.
Oh, I know what it is. Where did he see it?
It was like on a telephone pole in Southern California. Crazy.
I feel okay.
This is like black propaganda. It's where you pretend to be in the group, and then just to be like, yeah, I'm in the queer community, and I'm attracted to minors. You have to accept me. The queer community is like, we don't accept you.
Right.
Get the fuck out.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not to say that people who don't exist who actually believe that and want to use that term, but they are not a part of the queer community whatsoever.
It's a conservative psyop.
Yes, it's a lot of times it is a psyop for sure. So
there's too much going on.
I know, everybody's fucking, God, it's got to be coming at me.
Yeah, why are they thinking of this? Why are they doing this?
I don't know. They need hobbies. But
they need to get up off the couch and do something.
Yeah, they do. I guess what they're doing is this.
God.
So the SPLC has this handy interactive map. If you want to pause and find it to follow along with what I'm talking about, you can go to splccenter.org/flyering-map. And it's basically showing you an interactive grid, like a 3D grid of the highest numbers of where hate groups flyer in the U.S. And when you first look at it, you see the majority, the highest marks are on the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, places that are really highly populated. And when you go out towards the West, it looks like, oh, the numbers are a little bit lower, but it's important to remember, and this map is covering from 2018 to 2025, that this is not a per capita chart. It's showing you just plain numbers. And so if you go by the populations of each state, we see that states like Utah, Idaho, and Washington have incredibly high numbers. And if you just go over to the flyer type and kind of unclick, it'll show you just the campus flyers, which is the blue ones. And we have a fair amount of them. We have 18 instances in Idaho, flyer campus canvassing, which is mostly Patriot Front. We have a lot in Washington, campus flyering, 81 instances, most of them being Patriot Front. Also, lots in Arizona, 39. And Colorado has a ton too, 69 campus flyerings, mostly, again, almost all Patriot Front. So you can kind of see that based on the lower populations, that's a lot of times to go into schools to try to get recruitment going on, because there is a connection to why they would go there. Because those people, those young kids that have been put through the church their whole lives are kind of already primed for it. It's only like a little bit of a stepping stone to go this direction. Even if the church is like, no, we don't like it. It's like, yes, you do. You're teaching that to them. You're teaching it, and then they're going, oh, this sounds exactly like what the church says in the book. The book that we all follow says exactly this. They're just like, won't say it. You could almost say like, and we'll talk a little bit about DesNat in a minute, that those people are like the ones who want to lean into the white nationalist part of the church are saying, the church is just afraid to really take a stand, and we need to take the church back to its roots, because the roots are the ones that are super racist.
Oh, God, that's scary. That's like I'd go to church. I remember going to church, and they were always angry, but then they we need a revival. We need to bring hell and fire and brimstone. I'm like, more?
Yeah. Oh, this is the tame one?
I'm already scared.
Yeah, I'm so scared already. Please. Yeah, for sure. And that usually when people say they want to take things back to traditional roots, it's not going to bode well for women, Black people,
even
people
men
with disabilities, men too. But usually it's the guys who really want that the most.
Right. Well, there's 5 guys that benefit from it. Yeah. But meanwhile, you're going to be this silly guy that wants to wear hats and big belt buckles and dance around all day, but you feel like you can't. So then you start a hate group. Yeah. It's bad for everybody.
It is. And the idea of something going back to tradition or making America great again, that kind of thing, is just dog whistles. It doesn't mean anything. The great again is the part when people had less human rights and rich people could just do whatever they wanted, which is what they're asking for. So it's kind of the same idea. It's like these people are primed for it by their own church, even if the church wants to deny that's happening. So Utah alone is ranked as a top 10 recruiting state. Also, by the way, if you want to go to the splccenter.org/hate-map, that's a really helpful tool to use to see which groups are in which states and where they are. And you won't be surprised to see that Patriot Front is very present in all of those Jellabowed states. But they're everywhere too. So.
What do they even want?
To make people upset? I don't know. Literally, I don't think that they have a real agenda the way that a lot of those sort of anti-government groups don't. They have this fantasy idea, but they're never going to implement. It's sort of like during January 6th when they finally broke in and caused all this damage, and they were just walking around.
Right. Yeah, the lady with the flag just walk well, we did it now. What do we do?
Yeah, you shit on somebody's desk, and then you're just okay.
Okay. Great.
Is this what you wanted? I don't know. Because there is no real rational end to any of this. It's just about being mad. There's just no way to make anything that you want real, and you wouldn't even like it if you did,
Yeah, they wouldn't like it.
They wouldn't.
You want to be the breadwinner? Okay, go to work in a cave. Go to mine all day.
For sure. And also, it's so funny to think, oh, you're going to do this genocide of all people, and the white people are all going to be here, and you're going to suddenly be happy? Or what do you think is going to, suddenly you're not going to want to murder everyone, or you'll stop thinking about balls in your mouth, or whatever's going on in your head? what do you think's going to happen?
Damn.
Like, suddenly you're going to be fine?
Damn, that's like the South. And they're like, I just want to go to the South and like be, friendly with the neighbors and whatever that is.
Right. There's beautiful parts of Southern culture.
But then I go and I visit my mom and I'm like, can we talk to the neighbors and like hang out with them? And she's like, no, we hate them. And I'm like, I thought this was the whole point.
Doesn't she only have like 4 neighbors?
Yeah.
And they're all bad?
They're all bad. I guess the end goal is like you being alone in a room still angry.
I guess so.
That's the end goal.
Yay. You can go do that now. Why don't you just go do that now?
Go to jail.
Go to jail. That's what jail is, I guess. So yeah, Utah alone is ranked as a top 10 recruiting state regularly for as far as recruiting for white nationalist, white supremacist groups. It's largely because, again, to convince Mormon kids to join a white supremacy group is like a jump from one stepping stone to the next, where someone who wasn't subconsciously raised to think of white people as superior this much to this degree would take a lot more manipulation. But if your entire church baseline is that, then it's not that hard. This is not just me spitballing. We can see this in action. Earlier in the episode, we were talking about the cute flash mob consisting of these boys and of Patriot Front. I can't with these guys. Like, it's so embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
It's like 10,000 times more embarrassing than the one day of pink pussy hats in 2016, because these guys think that they look like supervillains. But we all know they had to go and have a meeting about choosing their outfits and coordinating, and they had to plan out their flag designs, and somebody had to like figure out how to like send the JPEG to the right kind of person, and then they all hold hands in solidarity before. And again, they're not all gay, but there's 0% chance that not at least 2 of them haven't hooked up out in the woods.
Oh yeah.
Because they had to go camp for survival reasons.
That's like 50% of why guys like to hunt. It's less about the animals, more so they can go blow their buddy Steve.
But it's not out in the forest. It's just helping your friend.
Right.
So
gay sex in the woods.
Yeah. And the ones who are not gay just hate women and don't know how to, I guess.
They just hate,
process anything.
You can be straight and hate women too.
Oh, yeah. For sure. So this is from, I'm going to read a little bit of this, or Amber, would you read a little bit of this from NPR, which was, by the way, just defunded by the government and will have devastating effects on rural areas. A thing we discussed during our Appalachia series about them losing access to public education. It's devastating. But anyway, they reported on this, which is maybe one of the reasons that they're defunding them.
31 members of the white nationalist Patriot Front arrested near an Idaho Pride event. Law enforcement arrested 31 members of a white nationalist organization known as the Patriot Front near a Pride event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, on a Saturday on a charge of conspiracy to riot. The men were packed into a U-Haul truck and detained a short distance away from the gathering, which was being held at Public Park. Police found at least 1 smoke grenade in the truck, White said, and paperwork that appeared to show a master plan to riot both at the Pride event and along the main commercial strip of downtown Coeur d'Alene. He credited the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, Kootenai.
I don't know how that. Kootenai?
Yeah, Kootenai County Sheriff's Department, Idaho State Police, and FBI with assisting in the operation.
Yeah, Kootenai County, I'm sorry.
Kootenai County.
We might be mispronouncing that.
But they were just going to go fuck shit up.
They were caught with a plan. So knowing everything I know now about Idaho, it takes a vulva of steel to hold a pride event there in Idaho, because it is not necessarily a super welcoming place, even though there's a great queer community, there's great people there, a lot of anger. And Patriot Front was only one of multiple armed groups protesting that day. Patriot Front just got arrested because they got caught with some terrorist documents and some weapons that are illegal, things like that. So they were the ones who got in trouble, but they were one of many groups who were armed, openly armed, showing to menace the group of the Pride event. Also, how have we not talked about the Straight Pride Festival that just happened in Boise?
Oh, right. And I saw a video of that. There were like 5 people there.
And there was somebody who came in, infiltrated it, and started singing a song about trans people in the middle of it. Did you see that?
No.
It was a veteran who was like, he got in because he was like, I'm a vet, I'm going to perform for you guys. And then he just started singing a song about trans people. And then he got kicked out.
Okay.
But it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I feel like we have to at least mention the Heterosexual Awesomeness Fest, which is what the actual title of it was.
Heterosexual Awesomeness Fest?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Which is definitely the straightest title I could ever come up with in a million years.
That's so funny. Straight is kind of the norm. That's kind of why you need pride events. That's why you need gay neighborhoods. This is like a safe area. It's okay to come out.
Also, straight people are welcome to go to the Pride Fest.
Yeah.
Gay people are not allowed to go to the Straight Pride Festival. So
right? And like historically, gay people have been murdered. Mm-hmm. There was a big like virus that nobody gave a shit about until it killed millions of people.
Yep.
I was in San Francisco and I went to the AIDS. I literally walked down Nancy Pelosi Way to the AIDS epicenter, which I feel like would give my mother a heat stroke. But it took to like see how many people died, like to physically see it. You're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, my mom was a nurse during the AIDS epidemic, and she had, was witnessed it, and she said it was like that and COVID were like the worst things she saw in her career.
Yeah.
There's obviously so many reasons why this is absurd, but it's so insane. It almost feels like performance art. Like it almost like the guy who runs the Heterosexual Awesomeness Fest is so absurd that I'm like, you want to believe it's like some kind of Annie Kaufman performance
satire
thing, but I don't think he understands. I really don't. I'm like, you have to understand how silly you look. You have to. This has to be like a tongue-in-cheek thing for you, but I don't think it is. I just don't know. Look it up if you have not heard about this, but it was in Idaho maybe a month or two before we recorded this episode in 2025. We'll see if he puts another one on, but there was like 40 people at the entire weekend. So anyway, in an effort to use sunshine as a disinfectant, so going back to the Coeur d'Alene Pride Fest from 2022 when Patriot Front was arrested, as a way to, use sunshine as disinfectant, all 31 names were released of the fellas participating in the near riot, the riot they wanted to start. Of those names, I, along with many other internet peepers, found a large percentage of them are either openly from the LDS Church or can be relatively assumed based on context clues. This includes a man named Jared Michael Boyce, who grew up in an LDS family, who was one of the 31 arrested and was also arrested for CSAM, eventually from having his devices seized. From all of this happening, they found a bunch of stuff, and he was arrested for that as well, which is great. And of the 31 arrested, 6 were Utahns, plus others from states that are Mormon heavy. But almost all 6 were almost certainly LDS. And out of 31, that's a lot. That's a lot of people in and of itself, even if there weren't other ones, which I think that there were. Many of these guys have been doxxed by different branches of Antifa, which operate under an organization website called No Blogs. A lot of Patriot Front members have been doxxed, and it's not certainly all LDS, but there is a big chunk of them because of their recruiting efforts. Deseret News, again, the LDS's newspaper, reported the 6 of the 31 being from Utah, but strangely don't report their statuses within the church. So weird. Most people think about this arrest when they think of Patriot Front because they were actually arrested, but that may lull you into thinking that they must have just like backed off and stopped doing stuff, but unfortunately it's quite the opposite. They're still going at it quite passionately. Just one of the articles from this year discusses the group doing their little marches in the street in February of 2025 in Harriman, Utah. So they are out doing this regularly. They have their little flags and they take their little marches around and they cover their faces. Their precious little faces can't be seen. But it's fair to say there are some saints in there marching in that Mormon heavy area. There were enough, in fact, of these guys interested in these movements that it required an LDS white nationalist group of their very own, which we mentioned briefly last episode. DesNat, otherwise known as Deseret Nationalists, was formed in 2018 when an online persona going by J.P. Bellum decided that he needed the church to really embrace its roots and go full Nazi. He was eventually outed as a 40-something man, married man, named Logan Smith of Pocatello, Idaho, which is where kidnapping victim Jan Broberg, whom we interviewed, was groomed, coincidentally. So the same little town of Idaho where Jan Broberg is from is where Logan Smith lives. Logan is a returned missionary and a graduate of BYU, Idaho. And again, very sadly formed this group in his late 30s. He is an active member of the Pocatello, Idaho Central Stake, a pillar of his community, if you will. This is also a little excerpt from noblogs.org, which again is where a lot of Antifa reports their doxing.
While Logan enjoys a stable job and marriage, he is also an unrelenting troll who actively targets marginalized people and uses white supremacist memes mingled with Mormon imagery. Additionally, he has targeted gay students and progressive professors in an effort to get them kicked out of Brigham Young University.
Which they do occasionally. We talked about that as well. Every so often they flush out progressive professors from BYU. The church comes in and says, no, get them out of here. Ironically enough, this misogyny-based thinking originated for Logan from a lady's perspective.
Oh, yay.
Albeit a super yucky one.
Yeah, sometimes women can be evil too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's very infantilizing to be like,
I agree.
Women are precious and better. And they can also be white supremacists.
Yes, I very much agree. It's why a well-meaning phrase like believe all women is actually harmful in my opinion, because that makes them seem like they're children. Little babies who can't be capable of manipulation, which they can be. It's just that misogyny and all of that makes it so that it's less likely that they're making shit up than they're actually being attacked, if that makes sense. So this lady is one of the ones I would not vibe with. Logan claims he was inspired by a one Isla Stewart.
I know this woman.
I know. I think I've heard you mention her before.
It was a long time ago, and I've been trying to, sometimes she'll come up on my mind. I'll be like, how's she doing?
You don't physically know her, but you're familiar with her,
I'm familiar
right?
with her, just in my online doo-doo.
Yeah.
What's going on with her?
She's a Mormon internet troll, if you're not familiar with her. She goes by Life with a Purpose. And she's one of those pick-me ladies who goes on a platform and talks about how women shouldn't have platforms, even though she's talking on a platform.
Yes. And then she's very loud, very opinionated, goes on, like, I've seen some of her streams. Kids are screaming in the back. Mm-hmm. They're obviously raising each other. I'm sure she's doing her part. Whatever. But she talks about women shouldn't go to college. Women shouldn't vote. And
women shouldn't be talking right now. Yet I am.
But yet she is every time. And then I think her husband might beat her because she's always like talking like how he like disciplines me.
Or she's doing a kink thing and getting attention.
Kink thing.
She might be saying these things because she knows it will get attention and then whatever. You know, people are broken. So he got inspired by her because she sort of used Mormon principles to sort of like yes and her already terrible red pill beliefs.
She has this weird thing about like kids are so innocent. And I'm like, yeah, kids can be, but like they also have thoughts and ideas. They're not like perfect little angels.
Well, yeah. And also she's usually when people say stuff like that, they're saying stuff about gay people or whatever, but not acknowledging all of like, for example, the rapists that are in her own church. That would never be brought up by her.
Right.
So Logan, according to Logan, he was inspired by her. And also according to Logan, the alt-right was too progressive.
Cool.
And he started DesNat to get rid of gay acceptance. I don't know what he's talking about with right-wing, like far-right gay acceptance. I don't know unless he means like Milo Yiannopoulos or something. I don't know why he thinks there's too many gay people.
Right. There's also a couple, like I've seen trans people that have like the MAGA flag and they're like, I'm trans, but sure. I don't think they've gone too far.
Sure. Maybe, Caitlyn Jenner was like a step too far or something.
Right.
For Logan, the ultimate outcome of Deseret nationalism is, this is, why don't we do, so this is from No Blogs as well.
For Logan, the ultimate outcome of Deseret nationalism, or DesNat, is the return of the sovereign state of Deseret under the church government. Ooh, they don't like the government because the government says you can't, like, have CSAM.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They want to do whatever they want, and that includes molesting their own kids.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
A lot of it, I think. And also, this is all tied intrinsically to white supremacy. And interestingly enough, the term Deseret Nationalist or nationalism was credited to being coined by a man named Matthias Chicote. That might not be how you say that, but he was the former assistant attorney general to Alaska. So this guy who was the assistant attorney general to Alaska was outed using a troll pseudonym online. It was traced back to him, but he was this awful white supremacist on the internet who was also a Mormon, also the assistant attorney general to Alaska. And he's the first person to use the term publicly, Deseret Nationalist.
What was his online handle?
It's
Based Red Pill.
Actually, I can probably find
Based
it.
Red Pill. They always act like they're so special. Like, no, you're just a random fucking idiot.
No, that's Mike. Remember Based Mike Lee? The fucking, what is he, the governor of Utah? Based Mike Lee is his handle.
Like, what is based? Just being mean? Just being a piece of shit? Is
Yeah,
that all,
I think it's
alienating everybody around you?
It's really a 4chan thing, where it's your being based is like being really it's hard. Like, how do I describe that? Being based seems to me like it is being cool enough to be hating everyone.
Yeah, I'm so cool because I hate everybody and nothing ever works out. And I took the red pill, and that's not based on a trans ideology at all. From the Matrix movie.
They're so fucking sad.
They
can't come up with their own shit.
They're spending, 15 hours a day on the internet
and
saying
they have
they're
to use
based?
They have to use two trans women's movie. They can't come up with their own shit. They just can't. They're so whatever.
Or what's that one with the CEO that's all mad and kills people? Psycho? No, not Psycho.
Oh, American Psycho.
American Psycho. It's like, yeah, that was written by a gay man, and it's like making fun of you.
Yeah,
they're making
for sure.
fun of you, but you're too stupid to see the satire. You piece of fucking shit. Log off, touch grass, maybe smile more. People would like you. Fucking based red pill loser.
Yes, that's accurate.
Sorry, I just think it's just the fact that they think they're all so special. And I'm like, no, you're just like an average dumbass.
But I think they know that. And that's why they're angry, you know? I think that at the end of the day, they very much know. So his online handle was just J. Reuben Clark. It was just like a random person's name. But it was traced back to him. So he was spewing like these really horrific things.
Oh, like what? What did he say?
It was just all about white people stuff. Like,
oh, yeah. I like how they all use AI or paintings because they have this obsession with purity and that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have like a painting of a woman, her face is never shown, and lots of babies and everybody's so happy. And it's like, yeah, because it doesn't exist. I mean, it does, you know what I mean? But like what you picture of purity, it isn't real.
That's why it's called propaganda, because it's convincing. It's also a thing that I think TV confuses people still. So like the idea of the 50s being this thing, you're referencing a television show. You're not actually, the things you say you want from the 50s didn't happen like that. You're thinking about the TV shows you saw on Nick at Night.
Yes, like Andy Griffith's show. That was written as like...
Or Donna Reed or...
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
that's not how things worked. Even my own parents, they were just like, they would laugh and say, everything's perfect in the 50s. They meant that as satire because it wasn't.
No, of course not.
I'm mad.
I know. And I'm sorry. I knew this was going to happen. We're going to talk a little bit more about Matthias Kichikoti or whatever his last name is next week. Anyway, Logan ran with this idea of the Deseret Nationalist, the idea of that term, and kind of created this group online. Logan is a Mormon ethno-nationalist. Logan ran with this. He's the one who really made this movement happen in the first place. This is also from noblogs.org.
Logan Smith is a Mormon ethno-nationalist. In the case of Mormon ethno-nationalism, Logan describes DesNat, or Deseret Nationalism, as the recognition that faithful LDS or Mormon members are unique people that should be united spiritually, morally, economically, and politically behind Christ, the prophet, and the LDS or Mormon church.
And as you can hear, those aren't specifically saying white, but everything that he posts, every action he takes, everything his group does signifies, openly. Like, he makes troll jokes, but they're not jokes about cleansing and things like that. So
only white people go to heaven, right?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
No black people in heaven, right?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Please don't take me there, wherever that is. That sounds like a nightmare. So it's just this guy, Logan Smith, and Josh Duggar. So I want to wrap up here because that was a lot of information, right?
Yeah, that got me riled up.
Yeah, we're going to have to, unfortunately, talk a little bit more about it next week, but we're going to move from that to show the historical references as to why I'm saying that LDS boys are primed for this movement.
Right. And I guess they want you riled up because hate and anger is how they live, and that's their attention, that's their currency, that's their communication.
Very much. I recommend going and seeing the doxing of them on places like No Blogs. I think trying to engage with them on social media is not worth your time.
No. These people spend 15 hours a day on X.
Yeah.
Their lives are pathetic. They have nothing going on. They don't wash their face. They don't clean their house. Because when you live in hate, you physically can't do anything. You're too tired to improve your life. Maybe go paddleboarding in the ocean. Maybe read a book. Maybe chill out.
I've heard there's no God in the sea. Coming up next week, the nationalist Deserets feel strongly that their church should devolve the United States into a theocratic ethno-state, or at least want to terrorize people into fearing it. The church's official stance is that goes against the church's beliefs. But does it really? The answer is no. It doesn't believe that.
What does possibility mean to you?
That's a hard question.
Something that you can strive for.
That I'm able to do anything I set my mind to.
You're confident in yourself and you believe in yourself. Stuff that you could achieve.
I feel excited. Anything is possible when you're more confident.
Shoes are a huge part of that. They are the most important part of my style.
You can express yourself.
In the right shoes, anything is possible.
DSW, countless shoes at brag-worthy prices. Imagine the possibilities.